Hello, I'm Death's Arrow, and welcome to episode 20 of What I'm Thinking. In this episode, I will look at the T71 and how this speedy little American light tank can dominate the battlefield. From a historical perspective, the T71 was a light tank concept intended as a replacement for the 76mm gun tank T41E1, more commonly known as the Walker Bulldog. While the T41E1 entered production in 1951, it didn't completely meet the requirements of the Army Field Forces and was considered an interim solution. The Army wanted a lighter tank that was less expensive to produce with a longer cruising range. A number of design studies were initiated in 1952 and 53 at the behest of the Ordnance Committee. The T-71 was one such study. The directive of the study was to design a tank with an 18-ton maximum weight, a 90mm gun later reduced to a 76mm gun with a quick-change tube, and equal armor protection to the T-41E1. Three concepts were then selected at a conference in July of 1953 for further evaluation. The first and second concept were proposals by the Detroit Arsenal and Cadillac. Both were similar 18-ton tanks with armor protection equal to the T-41E1. The Detroit Arsenal proposal was armed with a 76mm gun in an oscillating turret. The tank would be fitted with an automatic loading system allowing for a 3-man crew. The Cadillac proposal mounted a similar 76mm gun in a conventional turret and would be fitted with a quick-change tube. The tank required a 4-man crew. I mention both of these proposals because the T-71 modeled in game is a hybrid of these two concepts. The hull is from the Cadillac proposal and the turret is from the Detroit Arsenal proposal. As the Detroit Arsenal proposal would be consistent with the use of an autoloader and oscillating turret, the wedge-shaped hull would be more appropriate rather than what is modeled in game. According to the Chieftain, this error has been brought to the attention of the game development team but hasn't been implemented as of yet. The third proposal by Aircraft Armaments was a completely different design from the other two. The proposal was so promising that both it and the Cadillac proposal were chosen to have full-scale mock-ups made. Ultimately, the third proposal became a separate project known as the T-92, which eventually led to the cancellation of the T-71 as it was considered more promising. In World of Tanks, the T-71 is very reminiscent of the old Tier 7 AMX 1390 and plays similarly to both AMX 13 tanks. My playstyle in the tank can be described as exploitive scouting and boils down to attacking the weak spots in the enemy lines and breaking through to create havoc. That said, the T-71 can play a variety of roles on the battlefield from passive scout to flank support to sniper. If this is your first auto-loading tank, the key to playing these types of tanks is magazine management. Once the 6 rounds from the current magazine are depleted, there is a lengthy reload time. In the case of the T-71, that time is approximately 20 seconds, and while the magazine reload is occurring, the tank is defenseless. This is also an issue at the beginning of a battle where you must wait for the magazine to load before you can fire a shot. The key to handling the long magazine reload times is to have a plan. If you can't kill the target that you're attacking, then you must have an escape plan. The T-71's mobility is very helpful in this regard. A magazine can be force reloaded by hitting the C key. This is handy if you have a partial magazine left and have time to prepare for your next encounter. The T-71 has almost no armor, and your tank is essentially a pool of hit points. The T-71 does have a decent amount of health though, which allows it to take multiple hits from higher tier targets that it typically encounters. Although there are a few tanks that can one-shot it, so you'll need to be cautious around those tanks. One benefit the American autoloaders have over their French counterparts is gun depression. This is a significant advantage and allows for the use of hull-down tactics, although the T-71 doesn't excel at this tactic due to its low height. Coming from the T-21, the T-71 has very poor accuracy on the move. Other than shots at very close range, I don't recommend taking shots on the move as you'll miss more often than not. Smart flanking and use of cover so you can snipe is highly beneficial to maximize shot accuracy. The one thing that can make the T-71 frustrating at times is the need to rely on your teammates. The tank cannot control the flow of a battle, it needs to work within the flow. Openings to flank don't typically happen by accident. It requires other tanks to create those openings for the T-71 to take advantage of. This requires smart play and good tactical decision making. One other thing to note is that the combination of speed and relatively light weight of the T-71 can make the tank difficult to drive at times. It's easy to make the tank slide in hard turns as well as fly off small bumps and damage the tracks. Also, ramming is generally not suggested as you're likely to do more damage to yourself than the enemy. For equipment on this tank, I recommend a vertical stabilizer to improve aim times, a vent to improve all crew skills, and optics to improve view range. Alternately, an enhanced gun laying drive would be useful as a replacement for either the optics or vents to improve gun accuracy. As per all autoloaders, a rammer is not an available option. For crew skills, I recommend camo training first for the gunner and driver while the commander trains Sixth Sense, then camo on the commander. Camo is very valuable in light tanks as they keep their camo bonus even when moving unlike other classes. Other useful skills would be smooth ride, snapshot, off-road driving, recon, and situational awareness. I didn't bump this crew up to the T69 when I unlocked it. The skill set is a bit different for that tank as repair is a lot more valuable. The first replay that we'll be looking at is a solo battle on Live Oaks from January 24th, 2013. Please note that this is an 8.3 patch battle. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is a standard battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 8 battle with 3 Tier 8s, 3 Tier 7s, and 7 Tier 6s on each team. Both teams have 2 arty pieces. My team has 2 Tier 4s while the enemy team has a Tier 5 and a Tier 4. I don't recognize anyone in this battle. As the map loads in, my plan is to go north to E2 and take up a sniping position behind the bushes on top of the small hill. This will give me eyes on town and potential sniping opportunities on any enemies headed to town along the B row. Immediately start heading north to my spot that I want to take. Get to my position, you can see I'm using these bushes in front of me as cover. Our Cromwell is headed towards the city. IS-3 directly to my right. No enemies spotted as of yet. Some of the team is turning back to put defense on the east side of the map. Got an AMX-12T spotted, 3001P that's in the open. Lining them up. Get a hit. Second hit. Third hit and he disappears. I'm going to take a blind shot. And I hit him, knock him down. Lining up the Hellcat. Get a hit. Second hit. And now I begin reloading. No enemies in the open right now. Got a Yag Tiger 8.8 centimeter behind the houses. Reload's almost complete. I'm going to pull back off the hill. And then I get back behind my bush. With the enemy in town, I notice an opening between our IS-3 at B5 and Hellcat at F6. No enemies have been spotted along the swamp. While I don't have a full accounting of enemy positions, the risk is worth it to get into the enemy backfield. Head right down the hill into the ditch and use the ditch as cover from the enemies in town. I don't believe I had 6th sense when I played this tank, so I won't know when I'm spotted. This is a little bit of a risk, but it can pay off big if I can get back to the enemy arty. Pushing through the low area. Go as long as I can, then I'll pop up. I'll be in the enemy backfield. And the enemy hasn't left anyone back for defense. Huge hole in the middle. Still no one spotted back here. There's the enemy M41. Line them up. Miss on the run. Arty counterfires and misses. I get a hit for no damage. Hit for damage, and I knock him down. With the enemy M41 taken down, I'm free to flank the enemies in the east. I can see that this flank is in a bit of trouble with just a T34 and T29 covering. There's the enemy priest. Still reloading. Pause to line them up. Get a hit. Miss my second shot. And then I knock him down. You can see when I snapped the shot off, that's when I missed, and then I went into sniper mode to make sure I get my hit and knock him down. The enemy has a Panther, Churchill 7, and a Comet in this area. T25AT, I line him up. Hit him in the track, knock him down as he starts to rotate towards me. Comet, Churchill 7, and the Panther are still in the ditch. Rather than take on 3 enemies under the bridge, I make a tactical retreat. It's doubtful that I could take all of them down with 4 shells, let alone survive till I reload. Our Type 58 is currently on cap. While making my retreat, I get spotted by the enemy Comet and tracked. While I could outslug the Comet once I reload, he does have support, so I continue to retreat, taking a few hits in the process. Knowing that the Comet's gun doesn't do that much damage per hit means I can afford to take a few hits while making my escape. I've pulled out of range. I'm going to turn back around now. See if I can get some snipe shots on these guys as they try to come back on us. Churchill 7 is in the open, lining him up. He got tracked right before I started firing. Get a hit, second hit, and I knock him down. Trying to track the Comet, but he's on the other side of the tracks. I'm going to go after the Panther now. Snapped the shot off on the run and I missed. You can see the inaccuracy of the gun on the move. Pushing in on the Panther. He's not paying any attention to me. He's trying to stop the cap. And I knock him down on the move. Force a reload. Enemy's just down to one tank. So I'm going to head over and help our team cap out the base. Jump on cap. Do a little power slide there at the end. And we cap him out for the win. Looking at the after action screens, I destroyed 6 tanks for Top Gun, damaged 1 more, hit 17 of 20 shots for 1,844 points of damage, and earned 922 experience before the double. Overall, I started this battle by getting to a good position to observe and snipe the enemy. I chose this location specifically because from past experience the enemy will cross through on their way to town. 2 enemies took the open route and I made them pay for it. Once the initial rush was over, I read the map and knew that the enemy wasn't covering the route along the swamp. So I took that opportunity to make a backfield run. Since I didn't have 6th Sense trained at the time, it was a little more risky than normal, but it paid off. I was able to get to the enemy already unscathed and take them down. From there, I was able to flank the enemy's eastern team and disrupt their push. While I could have outslugged the enemy Comet near the end of the match, he had support, so I made a tactical retreat, willingly taking a few hits to get out of the open. The enemies made an attempt to come back and stop our cappers, but I was in position to intercept and take them out. The second replay that we'll be looking at is a Platoon battle on Malinovka from March 9, 2013. I'm Platoon with It Okay to Hate Me in his T71. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is a standard battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 9 battle with a single Tier 9 tank per side. My team has 8 Tier 8s while the enemy team has 6. My team also has 4 Tier 7s and a Tier 6, while the enemy team has 6 Tier 7s and a Tier 6. Both teams have a single Tier 6 arty piece. I don't recognize anyone in this battle. As the map loads in, It Okay to Hate Me and I have discussed our tactics for this match. I will go up the hill to get spots on the enemies that go in that direction, while he makes a scouting run in the field. I've seen him make similar runs before in the past with excellent results. So we're going to show 2 very different techniques in this battle between the 2 of us. As the battle gets underway, I'm going to head right up the hill as I mentioned in the intro. It Okay to Hate Me's headed out to the field. He's already spotted 2 enemy tanks, WZ-131 and a 3002 DB, also their T30 and T28 prototype. He does take a hit, you can see he's pulling back. I'd call that a pretty successful scouting run though. He'll probably go more passive now. I'm making my way up the hill. As I make my way up the hill, It Okay to Hate Me has taken up a passive scouting position at E5 and has lit up half the enemy team in the process. Assuming our team is taking advantage, I should be facing damaged tanks on the hill. Spot the enemy WZ-131. I'm going to stop behind this bush and see if I can snap a shot off at him. And he's behind the buildings, there he is. Still trying to line him up. Missed my shot. And he disappears. Gonna force a reload here. No imminent threats. Well worth it. Rather have a full clip than only 5 shots. WZ-131 still climbing the hill. Based on what I'm seeing on the mini-map, the enemy's sending a T28, T28 prototype, something else up the hill. Got an AMX 1375, he gets a hit. I hit him. Bounce a shot. He drops off the hill. Took a bit of damage there in that exchange. WZ-131 is backing off the hill, it looks like. The mediums have pushed him back. Enemy has two Type 59s coming up. I line up the 1375 that I just respotted. Missed my first shot. Get a hit. Get a second hit. Hit for no damage. Taking some hits from the 1375. Missed my shot. Get him down to 37 hit points as I'm forced to reload. He gets another hit on me. I've taken a lot of damage in these early exchanges, leaving me with 16% health. I need to play a bit more cautiously or I won't have much of an impact on this match. Got two Type 59s pressing the hill. We have the numbers right now. As our T-54E1 presses in on the 1375, I knock him down. Was a little bit of a tight shot, but I held off until the T-54E1 was clear enough that I felt comfortable with that shot. Forcing another reload. Pushing up the hill. Gonna try to line up this Type 59 here. Get a hit. Bounce my second shot. Missed that one on the other 59, and I'm forcing a reload, backing off again. It okay to hate me gets knocked down. Trying to line up the IS-3, and he disappears. Enemy has lost a 59 on the hill. T28 pops back up, trying to line him up. Our T-54E1 earlier pushed up to C9. The lack of enemy tanks in the middle leads me to believe that there's an opening through town. I make the decision to push through town up to the mound at E8 and use the terrain and bushes to light up the enemy tanks sniping the hill. With the last enemy Type 59 going down, I won't have to worry about enemy tanks behind that position. Racing down the road. Clip the side of the building just barely. Get up into position. It's an excellent sniping spot. Gonna line up that DB. Knock him down. You can see how useful this position is. I have the rises in terrain both to the front and left for hard cover, with excellent sightlines to the enemies in base. I lined up the Panther, get a hit on his rear. Second hit. Third hit. Two shells left, I'm going to force a reload. I'm also spotting this T28 on the other side of the mound here. Disappears. Got a Super Pershing and a Panther spotted in the enemy base. Our guys are pressing that flank pretty hard right now. Trying to line up the Panther again, don't really have a shot. Got a rear on the Super Pershing, lining him up. Get a hit and light him on fire. He burns down. Down one shell right now. Not going to force a reload at this time. Going to try to line up the Panther again. Really can't see enough of his tank to take a shot. Got an IS-3 on the other side of the mound here. Prototype. Back at F8. Bounce off the side of the IS-3. Get a hit. And another hit. Third hit. And a fourth hit. I'm now reloading. I back out. IS-3 was actually ignoring me. Enemy loses their T28. Playing it a bit risky here with only 16% health, but our team has a nice advantage and I want to continue to press it. With only two tanks remaining on this flank and the match pretty much well in hand, I take the risk and charge the enemy T28 prototype. Outmaneuvering him won't be a problem and I have plenty of support on the hill. Get a hit for damage on the prototype. Hit for no damage. Circling around behind him, I get a hit for damage. Miss that shot. Get a hit there. Backing up, get another hit. The one benefit I have of the prototype is that even if he turns his Traxian turret, which he can't because his tracks are damaged, his turret doesn't turn all the way around. So right now, I've got a huge advantage on him as I reload. Type 59 knocks him down before we can reload. Snap a shot on the runoff on the T30 and hit. Missed my second shot. I'm now going to go after Artie. Another miss on the T30, but he gets knocked down by our Super Pershing. Charge in on him, get a hit. Down to one shell, get another hit, and he's knocked down by our Ferdinand, and we win the match. Looking at the after action screens, I destroyed 3 tanks, damaged 6 more for a Confederate medal, hit 26 of 36 shots for 3,146 points of damage, as well as detecting for 1,919 points of damage, and earned 2,146 experience before the double. I earned an Ace Tanker badge for this match. Overall, this match shows a number of different useful techniques for the T71. It Okay to Hate Me played a passive style utilizing cover near the swamp to light up and damage half the enemy team. Meanwhile, I was playing much more aggressively, which led to me taking a lot of damage early in the match. Rather than risk being destroyed, I changed up my tactics and hung back a bit. When I saw the opening in the enemy lines, I made a dash for the mound at E8. From there, I took advantage of the distracted enemies in their base to get flanking shots while lighting up enemies in the surrounding area with minimal threat of return fire. Once the match was basically in hand, I made a very risky move by charging their T28 prototype. The move paid off though, as I was able to distract the enemies remaining on that flank for the team to pick apart. Thank you for watching this episode of What I'm Thinking. Stay tuned for another episode soon. In the next episode, I will take a look at the original Russian alpha gun, the Object 704.